All right. This episode of Get on Code is the first chapter in our data science NumPy tutorial. Going to be going over a few different topics, including introduction to NumPy, indexing an array, slicing an array, and of course, performing operations on an array. So, get ready. Let's go. We're going to import our NumPy function. Normally, it's just for easier sake. You're gonna see it imported as MP. So basically, we run the import statement, import Numpy as MP, as we're gonna do right here. So to start off, we're going to do a few different things. I want to introduce you to what Numpy is. Then we're going to run a couple of operations. We're going to do some indexing of an array, slicing of an array, and we're going to do some operations on the NumPy array. The thing about NumPy that's different from the built-in Python functions is it's specifically designed to extend Python's mathematical and statistical analysis, and it is more easier to use and manipulate arrays, which is going to be holding our data information. So we're going to be working with basically, I want to be doing some operations on a BMI, which is a body mass index, for better interpretation of the results. It's a little easier. Basically, the body mass index is the weight divided by the height of a person, right? So, but before we get to that, let's start with just our NumPy array. So typically, we have a list, and I went over a list in the previous videos about Python functions. But for this example, we're just going to create a list of height and weight. So let's go ahead and do that first. So let's start with our weight first, right? So what we want to do is we want to convert our list to a NumPy array. See, normally we create a list, let's say 100, so it weighs 100, 110, 120, 30, 140, and 150. Right? So that's 6 different values, right? When we want to see what type of function this actually is, Python will tell us, right? It's a tuple right now, right? We put it in brackets, becomes a list, okay? And that's good for just storing information, but that's not what we want to do. We want to actually convert it to an array for statistical analysis. So it's as simple as numpy dot array, open parentheses, close parentheses, and got to run it. Not numpy, np. Right? So now we want to see what this is. This is going to be our NumPy, our first NumPy array, right? And it says so numpy nd array. Okay, cool. So first, now that we got that out the way, we have our first NumPy array. Let's go ahead and set up our height, right? So our height is going to be something simple. I like to do inches because, of course, I'm American. So we're going to do 66 inches, 67 inches, 68 inches, 69 inches, 70 inches, 71 inches, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we have our height and our weight, right? But before we start getting into slicing and dicing our array, I want to show you what BMI is. So basically what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to tell Python/NumPy that I want you to divide each element in weight divided by each element in height. So it will be 100 divided by 66, 110 divided by 67, 120 divided by 68, 130 divided by 69, 140 divided by 70, 150 divided by 71. And I'm not going to do the floor. The floor would basically round it down. We're going to get the true BMI, right? So let's run that. Nothing appears. So now let's go ahead and actually print out our BMI. We're going to get a bunch of decimal type values, right? So we basically just created an array with all of our BMIs, right? So body mass index 1.5.5, 1.641, etc., 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 right? So this is going to be our BMI. We're going to be referring back to this throughout this entire video. So now that we have our BMI, we can actually see that our BMI is actually a NumPy array as well by just simply typing type and running it. It's a NumPy array. So now that we have our BMI array, we want to do a little index. So let's say we just want to select the first element in our BMI, right? So because our first element, remember when dealing with arrays, the first element always starts with 0, not 1. So if we deal with our BMI first element, it gives us this 1.15 all the way, right? This element right here. Okay, and if we wanted the second element, it would be 1, not 2. Okay, now let's say we wanted a range of elements. So we wanted just the first element, the second element, and the third element. We would have to simply just 0, and because we want the first 3 elements, we have to go 0, 1, 2, all the way to 3. It's not going to include the third element or the third number in this array, which will be 0, 1, 2, 3, which will actually be the fourth element. It's only going to include 0, 1, and 2. Quick. Okay, so here's our elements: 1.515, 1.641, and 1.764. Okay, so now that we have our index sliced up in this 0 to 3 operation right here, just know the difference. Okay, so when you're trying to set an index for an array, our index 0 right now is going to be the first element. So let's go ahead and get that up again. This is our first element, 1.51515, but when we're slicing, we're taking a segment or piece of the array and actually just looking at those specific sets. And this is 0, 1, 2. We don't want the 3. Again, just repeat. So now that we have some of our indexing and our slicing out the way, we want to perform some basic operations, right? So the first operation we're going to perform is we're going to be doing a conditional statement, just a less than or greater than. So in this case, since most of our values are under 2, let's just say, let me get all the values under 2 for the first 3 elements, right? So that's going to just tell us the true or false. Every single element, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3 are all going to be true because they are all less than 2. Now, just for example, if we just want every element that's less than 2, as you can see, the last 2 are false, and that's 2.112, and actually it's even 2.0, so that's the 140 divided by the 70. Okay, so that's just a simple conditional statement. But what if we want to do something a little more complicated? Let's say we want to multiply everything in our BMI array by 2. Right? So it multiplies everything by 2 in our array, or something. Maybe we want to send it to the power of 2. Right? We want to square it. That's essentially what the 2 wildcard statements is. 1 is just multiplying it by 2, and 2 is in this case we're squaring it because we're taking it to the power of 2, but we're just squaring everything in our element, or everything in our array by 2, right? So we're squaring it. So those are just some simple operations and some simple slicing and indexing of a Numpy array. So, who got the answer to the quiz correct? Yes, Numpy is used to perform statistical analysis on datasets using Python. Not too bad, right? That's it for this episode of Get on Code. Tune in for more coding tutorials and subsequent chapters in our Python for Data Science series. Now, as usual, go make something cool!